Dag from Amelie Scott. I am the professor of arts and letters, and we're so glad you're here for our April Zoom session. So today we're highlighting the floral frame with monogram of our arts and letters pouch pattern. It's up there on your screen right now. Whenever I purchase a pattern, I always look to see what are the different ways I can use this pattern. I'm sure you do too. I'm sure you're interested in your biggest bang for your buck. And I really like to take a lot of our designs from Amelie Scott and apply them in different ways. And that's what we're going to do today. Remembering all that, I have three main goals. Do you have your note-taking equipment ready? Because I am ready to unleash my information. One of my goals today is to share different projects that use the floral frame monogram, and all these items are ready-made. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I don't have enough time to do the kinds of projects I like to do. So I look for ready-made things that I can add special things like a monogram, a frame, or something special to it to make it a little bit more than just a ready-made item. It makes wonderful gifts, and everybody feels really special when they get something that has their initial on it or something special that I've done. The second goal is I would like to share with you how they were made and what type of stabilizers we used for them. And the third goal is to talk more specifically about stabilizers. When I purchased my first embroidery machine over 20 years ago, it was a little 4x4 hoop. That was all that was out at the time. The lady that sold me the machine told me that her stabilizer was freezer paper. Man, we have come a long way, baby, since those freezer paper days. And I know it can be confusing, and we're going to learn about them. So what is a stabilizer? A stabilizer adds body to the fabric as you embroider on it. And as you embroider, you're laying down a whole bunch of different threads on a very little area of either woven or knitted fabric. And it needs to have some kind of stabilizer under it because the stabilizer keeps the shape of the fabric as you lay down all those pieces. So that's what a stabilizer is. And I want you to know there are two categories. There are backings and there are toppers. So let's talk about backings. Backings are most common. They're used on the wrong side of the fabric. So they get hooped. They get hooped in the hoop, and then the item that you are embroidering goes on top. And that item can be hooped or it can float. And today, everything we do is going to get floated. So it helps to maintain the shape of the item we are embroidering. The second thing is a topper. And toppers can be water soluble or heat soluble, and they are used on the right side of the fabric. And the topper prevents the stitches from getting embedded in the fabric so that you can't see the whole design. Now, not all projects use toppers, and we're going to show you the difference of when you use a topper and when you don't use a topper. So I will be referring to some of these backings and toppers as we go through some of our projects. And we're going to go over to the cutting table, and I'm going to start with a towel. So join me there, please. Okay, what I have here today is already hooped, is a tearaway stabilizer. And you know it's a backing, it's in the hoop, and you know it's tearaway because if I take a little corner of it, it tears, okay? It tears. So it's a tearaway. The first thing I did after I hooped, I drew a vertical line and a horizontal line on my stabilizer because where these two intersect is going to be where the middle of the design will hit. So that's the first thing I did. The second thing I did was from your pattern, I cut out the template for the design, for the floral design with the letter D on it. Last name is Dag, so we're going to do D. All right, so that's the second thing I did. Now, I need to find the center of my towel. And I'm going to go for the vertical center. And if this was a lightweight towel, I probably would go to my iron and press a nice crease in it, and it would show up and I wouldn't have to draw anything. But this is actually a piled towel, and it would never hold the crease. So what I did was I folded it in half evenly, got a nice fold in it, and then I took a washable marker and I just hit some dots on that fold. Okay. So after that, I opened it up. I see my dots. I'm sure you are having trouble seeing, but there's one there, one there, one there, and one there. Okay. And then I took my ruler and I just connected the dots with my pen. I hope you can see that. Make it nice and dark for you. Okay, and I'm going to extend it down here just a little bit because of where I want to put my actual design. All right, so next thing I do is I take my template and I'm going to lay the vertical line, let me get it up here, the vertical line of the template, on my towel, okay? And now it's time to decide how far up from the end do I want this design to go. I don't want it to be too far down because I don't want it to look like it's ready to fall off the towel. But I don't want it too far up because I don't want it to interfere with the railing where it's going to actually hang in my bathroom. So I tend to like to have mine around 2 inches above the end. And so I have placed it there. Now I'm taking my washable marker again, and I'm putting a dot here and a dot here. Remember, I've lined up the vertical line, so I know this is straight. And now I'm going to use the ruler, and I'm going to place a line right on the vertical line and across the dots. And I'm going to go dot to dot. Okay, so there's my marking. At this point, I go back to my hoop. And I like to use 505. And the 505 is a temporary adhesive. It doesn't get too sticky, especially if you don't use too much. Turn around. I have a hard time straight 505. Sorry.
Or if we turn it upside down, it's 202.
Or if it's upside down, it's 202. But 505 is what I want, okay? And I spray it lightly. I don't overspray. I just do a little bit right in the center. You don't have to, wet it down. All you need is a little bit. Okay, so that's done. Now it's time to put the vertical line of the towel on the vertical line of the hoop. Okay, vertical line here. And the vertical line of the towel on the vertical line here. And fortunately, my hoops have little bumps, so I can feel that bump right under that vertical line. And then over here, I'm a little too short, so I need to come up. Vertical. Okay, I'm right on the horizontal. And because I have the spray adhesive, I got it this way. Because I have it on there, I can pat it down, and I know it will stick long enough that I can get to my embroidery machine. So after I go to my embroidery machine, I use the precise positioning feature, whatever it's called in your machine. You might have a camera, which is like to die for as far as I'm concerned, and get it centered so this design is centered from your machine onto the hooped towel. After that's done, then I do the very next thing here. And here we go. Can you see that? It's kind of hard to see. It kind of looks like plastic wrap, doesn't it? Okay, but this is your topper, and this happens to be a water-soluble topper that I'm using today. And I lay it right on top of my towel. Now, I like to do it second after I get everything situated and I know I'm centered from the machine. I know my stitches will be centered here. So now after I do that, I baste around, and I have one already done here for you. And I want to show you. It's in the hoop. It's a tearaway. You can see my vertical line here, my horizontal line here. You can see that I have stitched out. You can see my vertical line on my actual towel, my horizontal lines on my towel here, and then you can see the basting stitch that I've done, which is the last step before you start to stitch. And if you don't know how to do basting, you can't find that on your machine, you get to your dealer and you say, please show me where this is. Because what it does is it bastes everything down, the topper, the towel, to the backing. And then it won't move and jiggle on you. You know that this is going to be right, the design is going to go right where you want it to go. So that's how I do this. Now, talking about toppers a little bit, there's a water-soluble topper, which I've used here, which means that when I am done stitching, I will take this out of the hoop and I'll be able to rip most of it off, because once it gets pierced by the needle, it comes off very easily. But there might be some very little areas, especially right here around the leaves and whatever, that stick. They don't stay. And all you need to do is take a little spritz of water and they will go away. The other type is a heat soluble, okay? And a heat soluble is just that. They remove, the heat solubles remove with heat. So if you need to, you might need to press it a little bit, or what I would do is I would just throw it in the dryer and let it go away that way. Now, we sell a really good topper on our website. And if for some reason or other you can't find it in your area, please go to our website. You'll find it's there. It's Exquisite brand topper, and I think you'll find it's very good. Okay? So we're going to go back to the desk now. If you'll join me there. Continue. All right. So now we're going to talk about when you use a topper. There's some very specific times when you use a topper, and I always use one when embroidering on knit, okay? Fleece or pile fabric, such as a towel, which we just did. And if you do not do that, the stitches will get buried down in the knit or buried down in the pile of the towel. That's hard to say. Always use a topper when embroidering on denim, corduroy, velvet. These fabrics stretch. They have a pile or a nap, and you want to use it for these fabrics. Now, people will say to me, denim? Why denim? Well, have you ever put a freshly laundered pair of blue jeans on in the morning and it's a little tight and you go, ooh, I need to lose weight. And yet by the end of the day, man, they've stretched out nicely and you're going, oh, I must have lost weight today. No, denim stretches. And that's why you want to have a topper on it, to keep the stitches above the denim. I also use them on a topper on loosely woven fabrics. Like if you're doing a very loosely woven linen and you might have a very fine embroidery that you're putting on, I would always put a topper on that, because you don't want the threads of the linen to get skewed in any way. You want it to stay right there, okay? And when you are shopping for a topper, these are the characteristics that you want to look for. You want to make sure that you see the product label, the the word topper on the product label, because a lot of these companies have really unusual names on their labels, but you want to look for the word topper. Okay? So let's talk about types of backings now. There are about 5 that we're going to talk about today, and I know there are gillions others, and you have favorites, and I'm really happy for you. These are the basics, though, that I think is really a good way to start. So the first one is the tearaway, which I used on the towel, and you knew that because you could tear it away. All right, and that's what it means. After you stitch, you can tear it away. And then there's a cutaway stabilizer, and that means that after you stitch, you must cut it away. And we're going to use that next for the demonstration today. Then there's a heat away, which means after stitching a hot iron or dryer, after stitching a hot iron or a dryer would remove it. And then there's a wash away. And some of you who have maybe done lace work, and here's one right here, might be very familiar with the wash away. It, you would put that wash away stabilizer in your hoop and you do the stitching. And then after you're done, you put it under the sink, the water in the sink, and it washes away and you get this lovely piece of basically lace, but this one is the shape of a Christmas tree. So you all might be very, very familiar with that. Then there's one that I totally like to use, and it is a tearaway. It's not anything different, but just I do a lot of monogramming on vinyl bags and leather bags. And I like this one, and I want to suggest it to you. It's called a self-sticking tearaway. And if you would think of it as being a big, big name tag that you've ripped off the back, and it's real sticky, okay? And you would hoop it, and the whole area of the hoop would be sticky, like your name tag. And why I like it better than using the 505 is because vinyl bags or leather bags are heavier, and it adheres more thoroughly to those bags, so they won't fall out. You cannot baste those bags down because those stitches, those holes, those needle holes would show up. So I really like self-stick tearaway also. But again, when you're done, you tear it away. That's all there is. So do I have any questions at all? No? All right. Okay, so Mark's going to put up some fun pictures of our next project, and I'll beat you over the cutting table. Okay. So we have a rain poncho that we have added. We have added the floral frame and a letter to. Okay. And I started off, first of all, by hooping a cutaway. You see it? And the second step I did was drawing a vertical and horizontal line on it. Okay. And then I have my template with the D on it, ready to go. Now, when I do clothing, I'm always very careful because you can put something in the wrong place. If you get my drift, location, location, location is very important. So I always try to put it on somebody to make sure I've got it in the right spot. This poncho is really adorable. It has the cute hood at the back, and it has a yoke, which is nice for putting this on because it has a nice seam here. So we put it on, and I made sure that my design would not go in the wrong spot. Okay? So we have the cutaway in there. The first thing I did was I pinned Well, the first thing I did was I decided that, okay, I know where this is going to go because while I had it on my body, I pinned it on. Okay, I pinned on the template. And then when I got it off my body, I opened it up. And this poncho is great because it has a zipper. We went high class on this one. And then I laid it out. Get this out so you can see it. Am I looking straight there? I think so. Okay, so then I had this on here, pinned on here. And then I decided, after I looked at it, and I looked at this nice seam, straight seam, and I used that as my reference point, which was really nice to have. Sometimes you might need to use the zipper, keep it closed, and use that as your reference point, but look for a reference point, okay? So after I put that on, I used my pen and I dotted the four corners. And here it is. Here's my pen. Okay. I dotted the four corners. Okay. Like that. And again, I used my ruler and I did dot to dot and dot to dot. All right. So I have that ready to roll. Then again, I used my 505. I sprayed gently on my hoop. Okay. And this one was really fun because you could see through the line. You could see through the poncho to figure out the lines. And I'm even going to show you, I just have dots here and I didn't draw my lines anymore. And I still, whoops, I lost it here. So I still had lines that I could match up with the lines on my hoop, which was really nice to have. Okay. So I had my 505. I secured it down again, and then I headed to the embroidery machine. I used my precise positioning, and I did the center of the design from the machine to the center of the two lines that intersected on the front of my poncho and started to stitch. Now, I did not use a topper here because it didn't need a topper. It just needed to have a backing. Didn't have a pile, wasn't a knit, all those characteristics. So no topper on this one. But because it is clothing, I did use a cutaway. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, the fun part about this was the back. So Christine, or the maker of Amelie Scott, the head guru, she had designed this mug rug a while ago. And this is the spring mug rug. And there it is on the front. And I always loved it because I always loved this little design. And I love the birdhouse, etc., etc. So I said, wouldn't it be fun to put a boot on the back of the poncho? Again, here's another way you can use a pattern that you purchased maybe a while ago, and you can use it in a new way, not just on a mug rug, but on an actual garment. And wouldn't that be adorable on a child's garment in some way? I just love it. So I did the same thing, found the center, marked my lines, and put it on the hoop, just like we did on the front. But here's the thing, this is an applique. And I don't want you to panic about that because we always pride ourselves in having amazing instructions to show you exactly how you would put that applique down, how you would stitch it to this poncho. So don't be afraid. If you've never done an applique, this offers a wonderful opportunity to use that applique on something like this. So we did the applique. Okay. So again, lots of fun. We did that. Again, it was done just like the front at the embroidery machine. All right. So today, because we love you, we are offering a 20% off discount on the mug rug, spring mug rug. So you would have the opportunity to use this on one of your special garments. And there is the spring mug rug code that you would need on our website. And it's good through May 26th. Wow, got a lot of time to figure that one out. So it's spring MR20. And if you have not purchased this mug rug, you may want to do that with the 20% off. So there we go.
Beth, did you tell them what kind of fabric?
Oh, I didn't.
And where we got it?
Okay, sorry. Christine just reminded me that I didn't really talk about the type of fabric. And this is a polyester. So, and actually we ordered this off of Amazon. Yeah, this was Amazon. Our go-to for, oh my God, what are we going to do? But here's the thing. A really good point that Christine brought is that you don't want a plastic and you don't want a vinyl because they're going to pierce it and chances are then it'll tear. So you want something that has actually a weave to it. And this is a polyester. So that's what you want is a polyester. Okay. And actually I've done this kind of thing on, you know, ponchos that were not very expensive at all. I mean, Christine went first rate because it has a zipper and everything else.
That's too good for Beth.
I've done it on, you know, ones I bought at Big Lots and it works. The other thing, and I don't maybe, but do you know how hairdressers have those nylon tops? I mean, I think something, a monogram on, do you have a favorite dressmaker? I think it'd be awesome because it's the same type. It's a polyester type of, what is it, kind of apron they wear. I think it'd be great to put that on if you have a special dressmaker. Okay, so with that said, we're going to move back to, or we're going to actually move to the third project. Okay, I need this guy. All right, so this one is kind of fun. And this one is a takeoff of a project I did for home, okay? It's one of those round placemats that you see everywhere, at Walmart, at Big Lots, at Hobby Lobby, at, I've even seen them at Dollar Tree. And basically, I think they're made out of polyester. I think they're made out of polyester. And they definitely have a nap. There's a roughness to them. And I brought it to Christine and I said, let's try it. So how do we do it? Well, it's very simple. We started out by finding the center. I folded it. I used my marker, marked, you know, the dots. Then I used my ruler and I connected the dots like this. That was for vertical, now horizontal. Dot, 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 dot. Use my line here with on my ruler and went ahead and connected the dots there. So where those two lines intersect is the center of my design. So where they intersected is the center of my design. So I placed, and it's kind of hard with a blue pen and a blue. I should have gone with chartreuse green or something. But anyway, so I placed that there. That's where I want it. All right. So at this point, I have my hoop and I have a tearaway in it. Okay. It's just a tearaway. I marked the vertical and the horizontal again. And I sprayed my 505. I'll never get this. Our 505 on it. And again, I didn't wet it. I just sprayed a little bit. Okay. And after I had my vertical and my horizontal lines on here, I matched them up with the marks a little low with the marks there, okay, and I pushed it down. Now, you definitely need to have on top, you're definitely going to need a topper. And I use, again, a water-soluble topper. At this point, I went to the machine. I centered the design on the center of my placemat after I hooped, of course, after I connected the hoop to the machine. And then before I started stitching, I laid my topper on top, okay? I basted around so that all three layers were together. So I started to stitch. And the topper was doing its job, but what I noticed was underneath, a lot of the design was getting pulled way underneath and kind of pulled together. The design was getting pulled together. So what I did, and this works out very well if you feel that you need more stabilization, I took another piece of tearaway, okay? And I gently lifted up my hoop. The machine was not stitching at the time. I gently lifted up and I put my tearaway, oh, come here, babe, my tearaway under the hoop. And it is located between my feed dogs, the base of my embroidery machine, and the hoop. So it's just floating underneath. And I found that after I did that, the stitches ended up being so much better. Isn't that adorable? And just think how pretty that would be sitting on your table. If you're one of those people that leaves your placemats around when you're not eating, just think how pretty that'll be on your table. You could do it for your kids, your grandchildren. You could put their initial in the center. I'm sure your kids or your grandchildren have specific places where they sit, and so you could put their letters out. I know my little granddaughter loves setting out certain things, and she would love setting out the letters for Papa and Baba and all that. Now, the one hint I want to give you about this is that after you've done a set of placemats, please change your needle, okay? Because I'm sure this is going to dull the needle quite a bit, and I would definitely change your needle at this point in time. So, do we have any questions how I did this? All right, I'm going to go back to the desk. All right, so let's talk now a little bit more specifically about what you want to look for in a stabilizer. There are some general rules that you need to remember, okay? The first is the stabilizer should have the same weight and feel of the fabric being embroidered. And my placemat was a perfect example. The weight of the placemat was too much for just one layer of tearaway. I realized I needed to get some more weight under there for it to stitch out well, and that's a perfect example. The stabilizer should never stretch, even on the bias. If it does stretch, it's poor quality and you need to stay away from it, okay? Generally, tearaway is used for woven fabric. You want to use that for a woven fabric. And cutaway are used for garments and fabrics that stretch. And I'm going to tell you my little story that happened several years ago when I'm still pretty new at doing all this. So I found at the end of the season some really sharp polo shirts. And they're on sale. And I thought, oh, I'll buy them for my boys in the family. Okay, so I had pretty colors for them all. And I'll monogram them. Okay, so Christmas starts to get close and I sit down and I monogram them. And I decided I was putting it on the sleeve. I wasn't going to put it on the front because I wasn't sure how my son-in-law, my son was going to take to it. My husband would wear anything, but those two, I wasn't real sure. So I just put a little monogram on the sleeve, just above the cuff. So Christmas morning, they opened them up. They were in a beautiful box. I had the sleeve turned over to show them the monogram. They went, oh, nice. They liked it. They liked it. So as spring came around and my husband started to wear his and it went through the wash, I had used a tearaway and not a cutaway. Now I'd used the topper. I knew that. I was smart enough to use that. But I hadn't used a cutaway. I'd used a tearaway. And the first time I washed his shirt, the letters were all like one big knot because the tearaway had disintegrated in the wash and weren't there to support the letters anymore. So I learned very quickly that you really need to use a cutaway in that kind of situation. Cutaways are used for garments and fabrics that stretch. Okay, so when shopping for backing stabilizers, no matter the brand name, again, you're going to look for the word tearaway, cutaway, heat away, wash away in the descriptions. And then you'll know you get what you want, what you're desiring, what your project's going to require. So I thought I would share some of my favorites with you, and that's hopefully will answer that question that we had. Okay. So when using a tearaway, I like a heavier stabilizer. So I always use at least a medium weight. I never use a lightweight. To me, it just doesn't do the job. So I use a medium weight, and there's several good ones out there. And the one that I use and we use here in the studio for our projects is called Exquisite Medium Weight Firm Tearaway. And the fact that it's a medium weight and it's firm is heavy enough for most of my projects. Okay. But as with the placemat, I decided I needed another bit of tearaway in there. So when using a cutaway, I like to use Exquisite No-Show Cutaway. And both of these Exquisite brands are out of Dime. That's Designs in Machine Embroidery. That's the company, and we use that in our studio all the time. So I'm hoping this information has been helpful. Any other questions? Did I answer your question about what I use? And good.
Somebody said, lots of great tips. Thank you.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Well, I'm not done. Don't leave me yet. Don't leave me yet. I'm not done yet. Okay. So I hope you're looking at all your embroidery designs in a different way. And how can I use these for more fun things? And hopefully stabilizers are less confusing. And hopefully I've answered questions about the process of embroidery on ready-made. You know, notice I never hoop a ready-made. I always floated. If you try to hoop it, you're going to find that you can't get it straight. And so I always floated. I'm a floater on that. You have a wonderful power tool. Use it. Okay. Now, we are, and I hope you've noticed behind me here, that we have a new book out, and it's called Limoncello. And it's our very newest book. It was just unleashed early this month. And it's called Limoncello, and it has 21 designs and 8 projects. And if you take a look at the various items on the pictures here, you can pull out and you can do mug rugs or coasters from them. You can do a table topper, napkins, all sorts of choices. Is there a picture of the actual long guy? Oh, that's the one I like. So that is a centerpiece, kind of. And I think it would make a gorgeous pillow. Excuse me, I have to sneeze. All right. So I think it'd make a gorgeous pillow. I can see it on my outdoor furniture. So you can use it to make, tea towels for people. There's another tea towel. All these things that come from the book. And it's a great product. Now, good. So here comes the main table runner. So can you not see that on a summer table? And you would think that you were in a villa in Tuscany if you saw that. I think it's pretty cool. So we actually are giving away a free copy to someone who actually attended today. And I guess we're up in attendance. I'm just so excited. I'm so excited. A free gift. Okay, we're giving away this book. And if you win and you don't live in the mainland, we may have to ask you for help in postage because it gets pretty expensive. We have a randomizer, and Mark is walking over with, okay. Ooh, Sandra Balick. Is that how I pronounce it?
Bailey, maybe?
Bailey?
Yes.
Oh, great. You won it. So there you are. So Sandra, will you contact Mark? Okay, you're going to do it in the chat, your address, so we can get it mailed to you. Okay. Our next class is going to be June 15th. And I do hope you will join us. We are taking May off because we have so much going on with the company right now, and we just wouldn't have a good program for you. And we want to make sure it's a good program. you need to have the reminder that we do a replay of this. And Mark's going to put that up. Do you see that? To replay, what you have to do? So if you see that, okay. Now, we are working on a completely new project for June and new designs. I think they're going to be so much fun to use for the summer months. So we're pretty excited about it. And that's part of the reason why we're going to take May off. We want everything to be just so for the next event. So if there are no more questions, I'm going to say goodbye and enjoy your embroidery show.